Good evening.
3 places where someone is not showing up.
Settlers trap Palestinians for days. The Israeli army arrives then leaves. A suspect released with guns in his car. Days later, a whistleblower is shot dead.
And in Clacton, a member of parliament who is rarely there.
The pattern is old.
Power works when it is absent at the right moment.
Paris Saint-Germain have won the UEFA Super Cup in a tight match against Aston Villa. The French side came from behind to win 2-1. Kvaratskhelia opened the scoring for PSG after 20 minutes. Madjo then equalised for Villa on the stroke of half-time, making history for the English club. Doué scored the winner just after the hour mark. PSG manager Luis Enrique said afterwards that winning matters to him whatever he's doing. He mentioned football, tennis, paddle and parchís, which is a board game. The victory gives Paris Saint-Germain their first piece of silverware this season. Guardian Football reported this. Israel says it will not pull its forces out of Lebanon, Gaza and Syria under any circumstances. The country's defense minister, Israel Katz, made the statement today. Israeli troops have been operating in all 3 areas. In Gaza, forces have been present since the war began more than a year ago. Israel has also deployed troops into southern Lebanon and parts of Syria in recent months. The announcement signals that Israel intends to maintain its military presence across its borders for the foreseeable future. Katz said the withdrawal would not happen under any circumstances. Al Jazeera reported this. The Black Sea has become a new flashpoint in the war between Russia and Ukraine. Russia is ramping up attacks on grain shipments moving through the waterway. Ukraine is striking back at oil tankers in the same area. The Black Sea is one of the world's critical shipping routes. Both sides are now targeting commercial vessels there. Global markets are on edge. The attacks threaten supplies of grain and oil that move through this narrow passage between Europe and Asia. What happens in the Black Sea affects prices and availability of these commodities worldwide. WSJ World reported this. American prosecutors have charged 11 people with running a marriage fraud scheme that went on for 10 years. The network arranged more than 1,000 fake marriages. Most were designed to help Chinese nationals obtain permanent residency in the United States. At least 14 of those who took part were active-duty American soldiers. The charges suggest the service members married foreign nationals they had no genuine relationship with. The arrangements were made purely to help the Chinese citizens get green cards. The case highlights how immigration fraud can reach into unexpected places, including the military. Prosecutors say the operation was extensive and ran for about a decade before authorities shut it down. SCMP reported this. An Australian man has been arrested in the United States on serious criminal charges. Brett Joseph was taken into custody in Texas. He's been charged with fraud and child indecency offences. Joseph has been described as a fraudster. The charges against him involve 2 separate types of alleged criminal conduct. The arrest happened in Texas. Australian authorities have not yet commented on whether they were involved in the investigation or if Joseph will face any charges at home. He has not been convicted of any offence. The case is now before the American courts. ABC Australia just reported this.
Brett Joseph has been charged in Texas with fraud and child indecency offences. The Pentagon says its strikes in Yemen killed 153 civilians this year.
The review is unclassified.
It shows the cost of the campaign against the Houthis.
Palestinians in the occupied West Bank were trapped for days by Israeli settlers. The Israeli army arrived at the scene but then left without intervening. The episode highlights the military's difficulty in stopping settler violence and protecting Palestinians who live in the territory. Settler attacks on Palestinian communities have become an increasing concern in the West Bank, where tensions between the two populations continue to simmer under Israeli military occupation. New York Times reported this. The United States has been conducting military strikes against Houthi forces in Yemen. A Pentagon review has now revealed the cost of that campaign to civilians. 153 civilians were killed by American strikes in 2025. The review is unclassified. It sheds new light on the harm done to people caught up in the military action. The Houthis are the target of the American campaign. The figures come from the Pentagon's own assessment of the operations. Al Jazeera reported this. A team has reached the final of the Women's Africa Cup of Nations for the first time ever. Malawi beat Algeria 3-1 in their semi-final match. It's a remarkable achievement for Malawi, who are competing in the tournament for the first time. The Chawinga sisters scored the goals that took their country through. The match was part of the Women's Africa Cup of Nations 2026. Ghana Soccernet reported this. Dutch court has heard new details about the murder of a Turkish whistleblower. Police stopped a suspect driving a vehicle that was loaded with hidden firearms and fitted with stolen number plates. They released him. Days later, Semel Nal was shot dead in the Netherlands. The suspect is now on trial for the killing. Prosecutors told the court about the earlier police stop and the weapons found in the vehicle. Nal had been living in the Netherlands as a whistleblower from Turkey. The court is examining whether authorities missed a chance to prevent his death when they let the armed suspect go. OCCRP reported this. A seaside town in Essex has become the centre of intense political attention since Nigel Farage became its MP. Sarah Elizabeth Cox, a resident of Clacton, says the atmosphere has changed dramatically. She moved there in 2022. Back then she enjoyed the beach walks, cheap drinks and panoramic coastal views. Now she describes it as feeling like a never-ending circus. The town itself remains busy. The centre is bustling, the beaches are packed, and the pier is making money. But Cox says Farage has turned Clacton into what she calls a human zoo. Her account offers a glimpse of life in one of Britain's most watched constituencies. Guardian Immigration reported this.